A month ago, I quit my six-figure fintech sales job to pursue a healthier and happier life, and I'm finally ready to share that news. I am so nervous, but let's talk about it. Hola amiguis, my name is Savannah. I am a 27-year-old Chicago Latina content creator, ex-fintech girly, which is still very weird to say, and co-founder of a Latina social club. I know a lot of you looked up to me for doing it all, balancing my 9 to 5, community organization, content creation, but at the level that I was doing all three, it was very unsustainable. And I was miserable, mostly because of my 9 to 5, and that was just bleeding into everything else that I was doing. So at the end of last year, I made the decision and commitment to myself that I was gonna work towards a career gap. And a career gap is kind of like an adult gap year. I'm calling it that because I'm not counting out going back to the workforce eventually, but I knew myself enough to realize that I was at a breaking point and needed to release some pressure. And I totally get it. You might be like, Savannah, why would you leave a stable income to become an entrepreneur? If we take it back to high school Savannah, the girl that chose the finance path for us, she was not acting out of an aligned place. My girl was in survival mode, okay? I was the first in my immediate family to go to college, and I was doing a lot of that process alone. FAFSA, choosing my major, choosing my classes, and I remember the exact moment where I was looking at an infographic that had all of the most commonly chosen majors, and on average, what they made that first year from graduation. I chose the one at the very top that made the most money, and it said something like $63,000, which at the time I thought was so much money, but yeah. That infographic determined the trajectory of my life for the next 10 years. So I'm going through the finance coursework, working 3 jobs, and I am plowing through it. I graduated early. I landed a job in finance right after graduation. And when I realized that traditional banking and finance wasn't really my cup of tea, I immediately got a job in fintech. Like, you can call me a lucky girl, but everything just fell into place. I got the job in fintech. I was making more money than I had ever made in my life. I was promoted twice in less than a year, and I made my first 6 figures about 2 years into my career. This is more money than anyone in my family had ever made, especially for a cushy job. My mom's a mail carrier. I grew up watching her work 12-hour shifts in the freezing cold, in the rain, in the summer heat, working overtime, and a lot of times it was just to keep us afloat. So yeah, I was chasing money and security for the bulk of my career. And money is incredibly important. It's that money that took me out of my survival mode and made me realize exactly who I was and what my values were. And once that clicked, I realized that the more I moved up in fintech, the further away I was moving from myself. If you've ever worked in corporate or tech, you've experienced the faking the sense of urgency all the time. Everything is mission critical. And if you're a woman or a person of color, on top of that game of battlefield, you have to deal with things like microaggressions. You have to code switch. You have to put on an armor or a front in order to fit in and not be labeled as the problem, aggressive. And that's where I was. I felt like I had to put on a show on top of doing my actual job, which was not easy. I was putting on an act every single day in order to fit in order to be taken seriously by my prospects and clients. And that was exhausting, especially for somebody who, when the clock turns 5, I had to switch it on and go to influencer events and film content and join brand meetings. So what happened as a result is I had crippling anxiety. I was using really unhealthy coping mechanisms just to get through the week. I gained a ton of weight and I was back in survival mode, something that I had worked for years to get out of. And I just want to take a second because if you're also a Latina in corporate or tech or another woman or person of color, I just want to let you know, like, I see you. I know it's not easy. I know the dissonance that you feel being in a job that people would kill to have, feeling like you're not being grateful enough for it. But unless you've experienced moving through a space completely alone or in a space that wasn't built for you, it's really, really hard to describe the toll that it takes on your mental health. But I was just talking to my therapist and finally said it. It was traumatizing. And it's okay to say it, maybe not in the ways that I've experienced trauma in the past, but it's absolutely something that I will have to recover from. I'll have to unlearn a lot from my time there. But one thing that I absolutely recommend is trying to find your way back to yourself. And I did that through content creation. I started content creation a little over 2 years ago just for fun. I wanted a place where I can show up as myself. I wanted to find more people like me because I was constantly the only one like me anywhere I went. I ended up growing a community online of all my amiguis, but I also started a Latina social club with somebody that I had met on the internet too. So So when we founded Chicago Chicas y Cafecito almost 2 years ago, it was to fill that need in us, both corporate/tech girlies at the time. And it turns out a lot of other Latinas in the US needed that same community, so it grew faster than I could have ever imagined. I'm gonna get emotional talking about it because I'm a sap when it comes to Chicago Chicas y Cafecito, but it just showed me the incredible things that can happen when I build and lead with love. And not just love, but my values. And the more I got connected to my values and my community, the more I was able to trust myself. So if you can think about all the work that I was doing on the content creation and Chicas y Cafecito side, feeling so aligned, so fulfilled, versus fintech, these two parts of my life couldn't have felt further and further apart, and there was just so much tension building up in my life. I was resenting my job. The casual microaggressions that I once just brushed off were really getting under my skin, and I just couldn't imagine waking up another day to do the same thing. And that's how I knew that my time in fintech was done. So how am I making it work? Because we all need money. Even though I quit without another tech job lined up, I didn't do this without a plan. Basically, I've known that I wanted to do this for a while. I mentioned at the end of last year, I made the commitment to myself that I was going to work towards this. And that's really when brand deals and UGC campaigns started revving up for me. So basically, thanks to the community that I've been building for the past couple of years and my amazing manager, my Leah, shout out to you, I've been able to save all the money that I've made through brand deals and UGC campaigns in order to give myself a 1-year runway. I basically didn't spend any of the money that I made on brand deals for myself. It was either going to savings or to pay off my debt. And so I feel good for 1 year. It's really funny because I was saving for so long and it never felt like I had enough, but I had to give myself a talk, and I realized that 1 year of runway and my peace was worth way more than any more money I could save working this job for another 3 to 6 months. I'm really not tying myself to a title or a paycheck anymore. I'm excited for this year to teach me about humility. I'm excited to become a better steward of my finances. And hopefully in this time, I don't just have my 12-month runway. I obviously want to continue creating content, working with brands. I also have a handful of clients, mainly small businesses and schools around the city, that I do contract content creation work for. And I know that not all of that is the most consistent, but it feels right to me for the moment. But I think the most exciting part for me is what's next. I'm taking control and redesigning my life from scratch. From the way I move my body to the way I move through the world. I want to be healthier. I want to live a more balanced life. I have hobbies I really want to dive back into, like playing piano, guitar, singing, dancing, art, things that I just didn't have room for before, but I know they bring me a lot of joy. I also really want to focus on being a better villager to my village. My village are all the people that helped raise me. It's you guys who support me in my content creation journey and show up to my events. I also want to teach girls like me that have always chased security and done it the right way that it's okay to choose yourself, and it is never ever too late to reinvent yourself. I feel like a weight has been lifted off my chest. I hated keeping this secret from you guys, but I really did need to process it on my own for a while. There are vlogs that I've been really wanting to post, but would give away the fact that I'm fun employed right now, so I haven't. So I'm excited to live and post freely again. But from the bottom of my heart, thank you so much, because I couldn't do this without you. I couldn't have saved the money that I did without your support in general, and especially on my sponsored content. So honestly, little me would be so geeked out that I have this many friends. So thank you from the bottom of my heart. I will be posting on YouTube a whole lot more, so please subscribe if you're interested in following along the journey. I want to be an open book to everyone, so if you have any questions, comment them below. I will see you in the next video, amiguis.